Everybody, Mike Lawson here with Experience Beyond Measure series presented by the fine folks at Cantissimo Senior Living, your innovative source of lifestyle and wellness information for the 55 and over community. As your trusted advisor, Cantissimo Senior Living provides connections for active adults and their families in 3 areas. Number 1, connections to inspire information resources for daily living. Number 2, connections with family, friends, and like-minded people the world over. And 3, connections to the best in living lifestyles. And it's all delivered in simple, straightforward language. Cantissimo Senior Living helps individuals discover the vibrant, worry-free lives they have always envisioned. And to that end, we are happy to present this video interview series featuring guests speaking on a broad range of topics focused on healthy and happy aging. Hey everybody, Mike Lawson here. We are here with Mr. Paul Ablack from Cantissimo Senior Living. Paul, how you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great, Mike. Thanks.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Good to have you on the show. We are kind of continuing our series of the Experience Beyond Measure video series where we're interviewing various folks within the senior living community. And you are right there in the mix, sir. You're kind of like the one who's kind of starting all this type of stuff. So what can you describe the state of senior living today before we dive into some details?
Sure, yeah. I kind of got introduced to it in, it was the summer of 2019.
Yep.
And I was just I was just researching different markets and looking, for opportunities. And I found this market was really interesting because it's one that's going to experience a lot of growth just because of the demographics of the population. I think it's roughly 10 to 11 million over 65 are going to be coming online here in the next 10 years or so.
Oh, yeah.
And so I just saw that as an opportunity. Then I looked around and try to figure out what problems are not being solved. And I think one of them is just the idea of how do you connect, how do you build communities online for these this cohort, and then how do you match them to the facilities that they would ideally like to be in.
Yep. And
I haven't seen anything like that. And so the idea of Cantissimo came up where we build this community called Cantissimo Senior Living, and it's about content. It's about connecting you, helping your family, make choices, help guide you through that very difficult process. And so that was the genesis of how I got to this.
Okay, cool. And you're one who is always thinking outside the proverbial box. So we appreciate that. And you're always kind of looking at things from a different lens. And so what are you hoping to accomplish with this venture?
So, I think if you think about what TripAdvisor and what Airbnb does, right? They really brought the travel experience and the search process of travel. Let's say the travel planning process. They brought that to a whole new level. The ability to go into to match yourself, to put in the parameters of what your experience, what you want it to be, and then be able to go through and get reviews and to read other people's experiences about those destinations, and then to finish the process off by actually making a booking in one of those destinations.
Yes. Yeah.
And I use, like most other people right now, I think Airbnb is the first place I go when I'm planning any travel.
Sure, me too.
Is to look into that. And so I was thinking, it would be really cool. So then we started looking at what's going on in the senior care space, and you think about it, it's an experience. And it's actually much more involved because you're making a much longer term commitment to live in some place. You're not just traveling there for a week or two. And so we're looking at that and saying, why can't we build something that allows you to go through that same process online to learn about these places and get informed about them, and then create ratings and have those reviews available so that a lot of it can be done, without having to, it's kind of like if the tour of the facility is just a last rubber stamp, but because you've done so much online. And I've actually been amazed at how much, you don't tour an Airbnb before you go stay in it.
No.
You're looking at pictures, you're relying on reviews. And I think we can do that same experience can happen to a large extent in this industry. And, I just look at right now, there's sites that sell cars online where there's communities coming together who are really through the buying process or through the sales process, they're asking a lot of questions. providing a lot of feedback so that the successful purchaser of the car, can make an informed decision without ever actually test driving or seeing the car.
Yeah.
Okay. So I just look at, if you look across how the internet's changed this experience, right, in the process. I think that's what the process of living 55 plus living. I think that's we can change that whole process.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah. It just seems like the natural evolution of it, because I mean, everything else is going that way. So why not this area as well? And it just seems, and it just makes total sense for sure. So we have some upcoming guests on there. One of them is Jennifer Thorson. She's the executive director at Harbor Senior Living Community. So having these folks on, what are you hoping to get across to other folks out there?
Yeah, and I think meeting Jennifer was very enlightening for me. I think she's got a lot of energy and passion.
Oh yeah,
and she's an advisor to us on the on Cantissimo and what
fantastic.
We're doing, what kind of things we look into, right? Helping in terms of putting the right content up there and making sure we're saying the right things. So I think she's a great sounding board for us. And I think she has a good vision for the industry. I think if I look at, and I think COVID is a great example of bringing out the state of the industry. So you've seen or a lot of cases where there have been high COVID incidences. Well, if you actually delve into those places, you'll find they're not very well run.
Right.
You've got multiple people living in a room, sharing facilities. And I think there's a whole genre of buildings out there that are just of that, they're like circa 1970s, 80s, which is how we used to think about it. It's like, it's the senior home, it's the old folks home. And so I think that's evolved now, where this generation will want and I expect more of that. They haven't grown up living in communal facilities and don't expect that. They want to go to this new generation. And I think Jennifer has that same vision. She's brought that vision. And so I think that's the type of facilities that we want to connect people with.
Right. And that's going to be a lot of our thought is what has happened with COVID. That's going to influence the design of these places, the living areas, all that type of stuff. Is that what you're seeing now as well?
Yeah, I think COVID ripped the Band-Aid off a lot of those older establishments.
Yeah.
And it uncovered a lot. And I don't know if I've been following, I listened to a couple podcasts, New York Times podcasts, and there's a big issue in New York State where a lot of them, they were protected from lawsuits by accepting patients during the COVID time. But the conditions of those places just exploded the cases.
I bet, yeah.
I bet. Yeah. And so it just brought light to a problem that's been there. And now, as we think about it going forward, COVID we're going to get past that, but what's the next thing? And then how are we positioned for that? So as we think about this, we want to make sure that, we're connecting people with facilities that allow them to live with the dignity that they've had in their past life. And we don't own these facilities, right? The majority, the 99.99% of these facilities are going to be places that we are helping to vet, right, through the review process and create that transparency that I think a lot of the family members are looking for and the guests themselves. So that's kind of, that's our role is to create those connections.
Doesn't that bode well for the industry though? I mean, not only does it bode well for folks who are living there, but I would think the industry as well.
Absolutely. And it's just like this industry hasn't had that level of sophistication in a way, or let's say it's not evolved as much. And if you look at it, you've got these really large players, and then it's a cottage industry of owners, right? That own several, like think about them as small they would be like small franchise operations. They own a couple, they may own 10, 20, but there's nothing to really force standardization or to improve. And so that's what we're going after is, okay, how do you normalize this process?
Yeah.
Right. And how do you allow a better comparison through experience, right? Not just a lot of the comparisons right now are arbitrary. I wouldn't say arbitrary, but they're scores, right? But the scores are very generic. Okay, we'd like to get to the point where, similar to Airbnb with their superhost concept, where this facility is rated this because it meets this criteria, right? And one of the criteria could be, is there a place for the family to stay, right? Does that facility have that capability to allow the family a place to go to visit with instead of just being in the room, for example? Okay, do they have their own shower facilities in the rooms, right? Those are all the kind of things that we want to pull out and make sure that the users on Cantissimo Senior Living can get access to that information. And that's really what the work is right now, is to get these facilities to come on board, share their information, and provide a way for people to do transparent comparisons.
Exactly. And I think the facilities who want to come on there and share what they have are the ones that you want to go to. And the ones who don't, I don't think you want to go there, because
I think through that'll be a natural attrition. We will get those that really believe they provide that. And I think we've got to drive to that standard for the industry, because I think if you were to really go in and take a hard look at what, and sort of rank the facilities in terms of what meets our vision, it falls off pretty quickly. There's definitely been new stock being built. We see it around, but it's not enough to replace a lot of the aging stock that's there right now.
Right. Hey, let's switch gears to the community aspect of Cantissimo Senior Living. Social media. I mean, we're gonna have Old Man Steve. He's actually a star on TikTok. So great guy. So tell me about having folks on. And then there's also Linda on the Run, who's very active, and she's a world traveler and a blogger and all this really cool stuff. So tell us about having folks like those on in the community. I mean, obviously they're a representation of the folks that are on there, but they're also, they kind of rise above to the top because they're so active, and they're not shy about what they do, and they also kind of promote a healthy lifestyle as well. So tell me about that whole community aspect of like having those folks on the community as well.
Yeah. So the idea is, you want to create a site that people want to go to every day, because there's interesting things and it's being refreshed, right, every day with new and interesting content. And, a lot of people will not naturally go to TikTok to go find those things, right?
My girls, yes, but not me.
Here, I'm just not a TikTok user yet, right? So our goal is to bring, we scour, and then we scour for these individuals that are, really interesting, and they're doing, they actually bring just fun to that experience. And I think we want to, we want to make this, it's a place that's interesting, it's fun to go to, and you get great content. And so similar to how Reddit started, they kind of bring all that content in. That's the same idea, is that we keep bringing that content. It's not ours, but we are creating a channel where you can access it. And then you can delve off and go deeper into TikTok if you want, but at least we give you those curated pieces that we think would be interesting to a person, so they come there every day. And then the more we can, and we also want to create this ability to contribute, right? So we want contributors on what do you think about any you visited this facility, or you've got somebody staying in this facility, what are your comments, right? That's the idea, is that you can build this content through this community.
Would you have professional folks on there, kind of like Jennifer, and then you also have kind of like resident superstars like Old Man Steve and Linda on the Run? Can you have two groups of people there? Is that the audience as well?
Yep, and so they would be. I think in terms of creating the standards and the sort of metrics for what makes a good facility, that stuff will come in from Jennifer and her team,
right?
And then the others come in. They're just more fun stuff, right? It doesn't have to all be serious. And then on top of that, we have writers that are writing every 3-4 times a week.
Oh my gosh!
We are creating information. So, for example, we had a whole blog series on the COVID vaccine, understanding that when it was just coming out.
Yeah.
Then we have one about how to talk to your adult. Another blog might be how to talk to your adult children about money. So we have this content going on. So it's a place where it's a resource of information for you, a life topic. It's something fun to do. It's helping you in your process. And then we've done quite a few blogs on just about how to get prepared for moving someone into a facility.
Great idea.
If you're in that case where you have a parent that they're at that stage, then what does that look like, and what are some of the things you can do, and what's some of the resources?
Exactly. It's life stages. I mean, everyone goes through, I'm going to go to college. So what do I have to do to prepare for that? I'm going to get my first job. What do I have to do to prepare for that? I'm going to buy my first house. What do I have to do to prepare for that? So this is just another life stage that you guys are helping folks through. I mean, first timers, there's first time for everything. So,
and it's broad too. So it's that life stage I just described, it could be, right. That's more, let's say that's later in the process. The appeal of the site is to be 55 plus. So it could be just, I want to just communicate. I want to get a running group or something. I want to, connect with some people or see something interesting, make some connections there. That's the idea too, is to just build this community where it could even, it could just be something that you go there to just share experiences with, but you're not really actively looking right now, but maybe at some point. Right. So
I love the idea, because I mean, you have folks like Linda, who's obviously a blogger, a runner, Instagrammer, all that type. She can kind of create her own community by posting stuff every day on Instagram. And hey, here's how far I ran today. Here, I did this 5K, or here's where I traveled to, or here's what I cooked for dinner, type of stuff. And you just kind of build your own community that way. And I think that's really kind of infectious in a good way, because it kind of prompts people to do stuff. Hey, I can do that too. And then that just kind of snowballs from there, I would think.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So it's more like, we're not trying to replace a Facebook, take on something that big. It's more like a Reddit forum, right? So you get these subreddits, right, where people are just exchanging comments, and it's more along that line. Okay. And, they go there for the content. So so that's ideally where we'd like to be.
Yeah, I mean, it's just an idea. It's an idea sparker, as I call it. So it really gets you thinking like, hey, I could do something like that and put your own spin on it. So good stuff. Anything else here to add, Paul? Because I mean, I love the way you think, because you're just you see things from a different lens, and so it's really cool to talk to folks like you about things like this. Just it kind of refreshes and gets inspiration for others.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I right now I think that's pretty well it. We are hoping that we can get enough content to put some type of regular video series out there. Yeah. Right, which can, again, be content that that'll be available on the site. And that's one of our goals. And so I would say that, it's, we're early on in the process here. We're up, we've got our site going, and we are just in the process of trying to recruit these places to come on and share their information. Yeah. And, but we are putting a lot of content up there in the meantime, right? So to make it an interesting place to go. So I'm very encouraged by what we're doing, and I do think that we can really make a difference in this marketplace. So
fantastic. And last, before I let you go here, where can folks go to find out more? What's the website and any other information that you have?
So it's www.Cantissimo Senior Living. So it's basically 3 words scrunched together as one. So CantissimoSeniorLiving.com.
Okay, good deal. We'll get to put that stuff right below the video, and people can click on it and get right to it and check it out. Awesome. Good stuff. All righty, Paul. Well, thank you so much, sir. Appreciate the time as always. Fantastic idea here, and it sounds like it's really off the launch pad now and gaining some serious steam. So congrats on that.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike.